came up with 13 things I think that we can look at for 2013, and if we do these things, I think we'll have some success. Number one is it's not about the houses. Right? And I've said this before, I say this to any recruit, but I'll continue to remind even the top agents in our business. It's not about the houses, right? Because the house is just the widget that we use, you guys, right? The house has nothing to do with it, right? I love HGTV and I blah, blah. That's great, but that's like saying, why do you want to be a doctor? I love ER. I love watching ER. I think George Clooney is just awesome. Well, that's probably not why you want to become a doctor then, right? Who lives in the house, right? If your focus, if your passion and part of your vision is about helping clients, that starts making sense. The house is just where they're going to take their families and do what they want to do and achieve their visions. I mean, that's kind of cool if we sit down with our buyers and our sellers and say, what's your vision for selling a house? What's your vision for being a buyer? It's about representing the clients. It's about doing the things that it takes, right? It's about truly what I say all the time, right? It's about building relationships, solving problems, and having fun. If you focus on that every single day, if you trust the system that we taught you in ProStart, if you trust the system that your parents taught you about using manners and respecting your elders and really respecting anybody, right? And if you build relationships, solve problems, have fun, it's not about the houses, but you'll sell lots of houses, right? I'm convinced you can be very successful. I'm sure David, Steve, in their times managing, if someone says, I want to be super, super successful, I just want to make tons of money, you can do that in this business, can't you? There are certainly people, but if you want to just build lots of relationships, solve lots of problems, have lots of fun, you'll sell lots of houses and you'll be able to do those things as well. I firmly believe that. Number two is You Inc. Right? It's kind of a high-end thinking, but You Inc. is what you guys are doing, right? You've all made the decision. Susan Pabst Inc. is open for business, and Sean Simpson and Company, and Sarah Fair, Company, and Susan Harriet. And you guys have all created your own businesses, right? And the new agents, right? The brand new agents, I know you guys knew it was 100% commission when you got in it, but at some point in time you got bills to pay, don't you? Yeah, it's like, I got to do some stuff that I don't want to do, but I got to make some decisions. I got to make good business decisions, right? We talked in class about how many people in the room here have walked away from a listing. You had a chance to list a house, but the sellers were unrealistic about price, terms, or commission, and you chose to walk away. Raise your hands. How many of you would raise your hands and say you wish you would have walked away from one of your listings that you have? That's almost everybody, right? You got to make good business decisions. You've got to make good business decisions on buyers you're going to work with. You've got to make good business decisions. Part of being You Inc. is accountability, right? Steve talked about accountability, all right? How many of you guys are meeting with or coaching with your managers? All right? How many of you did but you're not doing it right now? You Inc., right? Number three is start with why. And this goes back to the passion issue. This goes back to the vision, all right? But trust me when I say this. When you figure out the why, the how becomes easier. In fact, you might want to write that down. When I figure out the why, the how becomes easy. Right? And there's why are you in this business? I had a wonderful opportunity to speak to the students at Bishop Reedy High School a couple weeks ago. Got invited by one of their business teachers, and it was going to be just the business class I was speaking to. And then it became kind of not a whole school assembly, but about 160 kids from freshmen up to senior. It was the first time I've ever spoken to a high school group, so I was super excited. And my speech was called Living Your Life in 3D. How to dream, design, and do what it takes to be a successful leader in business and life. And it was awesome. It was a fun topic, but at the very beginning I asked them all to write down, define the word success. Right? And I got all the answers I thought I would, achieving your dreams and being happy in who you are. But I got one kid to finally say, chilling with my friends, right? And I said, what does that mean? He goes, just having lots of money, right? And all his friends are laughing with him. He's kind of being a smart ass, which is cool because that was me. I felt like I was looking at me, right? And I said, okay, so what does that mean? Like, how much do you need? He goes, 10 million would be good. I said, all right, so what's your name? He's like, Jacob. I said, so if I give you $10 million and you can chill with your friends, you're happy. He goes, yeah, I think that'd be successful. I said, so I give you $10 million in a big briefcase like you see in the movies, and you can't do anything with it, but you have $10 million. Are you still successful? He goes, well, no, that would suck. I mean, what's the point of having money if you can't spend it? I said, see, so it's not the money that's going to make you successful. It's what you can do with money that makes you successful, right? It's the why you're in business, right? It's the you don't want to have a house on a hillside in the Carolinas. You want to live in a house and have family visit you and be part of a community of Boone or wherever it may be, right? And ski and vacation and hike, and it's the why, right? Bob Dylan, one of my favorite quotes on success. They asked Bob Dylan, how much money do you have to make before you're successful? And Bob Dylan said, what's money? A man is a success if he can get up in the morning and go to bed at night and in between do something he loves. That is a cool definition of success, right? And there's a guy that I want you to write down. Steve said the name Rory Vaden, the author Rory Vaden that wrote the book Taking the Stairs, right, Steve?
Yep.
Here's another name I want you to write down, Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek. And he writes a book called Start With Why. And it's an awesome book. It's written in a business standpoint. It's not really a philosophical or an inspirational book, but it's kind of a business standpoint. But you'll understand why I recommend it. But in the book he says, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Right? They truly see your passion. But the reason I picked the picture here of the cathedral is the passion issue, right? It's the why, right? And Lou Holtz tells a story of coming upon three men, working outside of a building that they were putting up. And he asked the first man, what are you doing? He says, I'm making $9.95 an hour. He says, the second man, what are you doing? He says, I'm laying bricks till quitting time. He says to the third man, what are you doing? He says, I'm building the most beautiful cathedral this world will ever know. And years from now, people will be able to travel all around the world and enjoy our commitment to excellence. And I ask you, which one would you hire? Number 4, it's not what you know. This business, you want to be successful in 2013, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Right? It's not what you know, it's who you know. And I think this is where, let me ask you guys a question. See, we all get so focused on knowledge. And so knowledge is I'll agree with you. As a teacher, as a student, knowledge is extremely important. But let me ask you a question. If Greg Lee's read a book tonight on how to fly an airplane, who in here would get in a plane with him tomorrow with him as a pilot? Probably no one, right?
I would.
All right. But so the knowledge of the book didn't do anything, right? If Susan reads Jack Nicklaus's Golf My Way, considered one of the best instructional golf books ever written, Jack Nicklaus' Golf My Way, you think she could play at a tour level game tomorrow? No, so the book didn't do anything for her, right? Coming to ProStart doesn't really do anything for your business, but you start having the experience of working, right? You have some experience now with oil and gas contracts, right? You have experience with using the dialogues, and in some cases we have experience in not using the dialogues, right? And there have been times that you just didn't say what you should have said, and you realized that that was a good learning experience on how not to get a listing, or how not to close a deal, or how not to convert a for sale by owner. So it's not what you know, but it's that ripple effect we talked about in class, right? If I know 100 people, and they know 100 people, you realize that I'm one contact away from 10,000 people. I'm one contact away from 10,000 people, and it's even more than that, because if I know 100 people and they know 100 people, well, they know 100 people too. And so think of that 6 degrees of separation of how quickly I could be in touch with somebody that I never knew I was going to be in touch with that might have a real estate need. But if that person's at the front of the line, if Julia and her 100 people in line, and I take really good care of you and get to know you really well, and build a relationship with you, solve your problems, and have fun, is there a good chance that she'll use her megaphone to tell them about Sean Carpenter? Yeah, right? And so that ripple effect, just keep saying to yourself, who do I know? Friends of friends on Facebook, right? How can I reach more people? How can I be more engaged? I'm going to go and help my kids' class, right? Sarah, you have kids in school. When you can help their class, well, what about the people in the other 4th grade classes, or 3rd grade classes, or 2nd grade classes? What about the people what about the teacher that your kids left last year? Do you still go back and ripple them, right? And it's so powerful. And Susan, I'm so proud of you. You're trying to think every day of 2 new names I can add into my list. At some point, you would think that would become infinity. Like, you can't get there. I know everybody. But that's probably not the case. Knowledge doesn't hurt, right? Knowledge doesn't hurt. So think about that. Knowledge doesn't hurt. And how often are you looking at your stats? How often are you looking at your numbers? Because, as Steve said earlier, what's your marketplace? But how about you specifically? What's your average days on the market? What's your average sales price? What's your list to sale price ratio? Right? You think that's going to come into play when a seller says, well, Jackie, can you reduce your fee? The other agent said they would do it for 6%. And because I've compared my apples to apples and asked, are you interviewing other people? The reason I ask is because I want to be able to help you make a good business decision, so I'd like to be able to compare my statistics to theirs. If I know that I'm 98.5% of asking price for my history or my career or my last 12 months, and the other agent they're talking to is 96%, and the board of realtors average is 95.5, have I just made the 1% issue not an issue? I have if I know my statistics, right? And so, once again, guys, you've got to know your stats. Number 6, pick your battles. We talked about this probably on the first day of class, but there's 2 things an agent does with his or her day. They either do business development or they do business support, right? And we know what? Most agents spend most of their time doing what? Business support.
You can hire somebody hourly to do that.
You could hire someone hourly, but why do most people gravitate toward business support?
It's easy.
It's easy. What else isn't involved? Rejection. Rejection's not involved with being on MLS. Facebook will never reject you, right? Twitter doesn't reject you. Video doesn't reject you, right?
You can't get unfriended.
You can get unfriended, that's fine. But once again, business development has to happen, because if you only spend time on business support without business development, there will quickly be no business to support, right? And so Steve said, 1 hour a day, you guys. Can you do 1 hour a day? You've got to realize that the seeds you put in the ground today are not going to reap harvest. But the seeds you put in the ground today will reap harvest before the seeds you plant tomorrow. Right? Whatever your spinning plate is, and we're going to segue to that one next, but whatever you choose, farming, right? Farming is a great idea, but it's going to be a long term. And you can't say, well, I did that for a month and it didn't work, so that sucks. I'm going to try something different. Right? We've got to continue to get on that treadmill. Right? It's like, once again, Biggest Loser analogy. First week, they all lose a ton of weight. Why? Because they've locked off the fridge and they've made them get on a treadmill. Right? So they quickly lose all the water in their body. Right? And then what happens on that show, if you watch it, like weeks 4, 5, and 6, they get frustrated, don't they? 1 pound? That's it? 1 pound? There's no way I only lost 1 pound. But now they're getting through the hard to get to the good. Right? And it's that consistency of, if I just believe. But here's the thing, guys, with farming analogy. What's going to come out of the ground here is important. But they couldn't just put seeds in the ground today and think that was the beginning of it, right? They had to actually till the land before they could even put the seeds in the ground. And they didn't know what type of seeds they wanted. They have to do some research on what the seeds are going to take water-wise and nutrient-wise and fertilizer-wise, right? So you got to, that's why your business plan, truly, if you're just starting your business plan, and if you are, that's okay. I'd rather you start it today, right? They say the best time to plant a tree was 100 years ago. Next best time is today, right? If you haven't started your business plan, that's okay. You got to start it today. But truly, you should have started your business plan October 1st. Even before that, because then you can put into play what's going to happen January 1 in the first quarter of this year. So understand, you've got to start doing some things now. How many of you guys would love to have your marketing plan for next year done before January 1st? You realize you could put that into place. If you've been in it long enough, you can order all of your postcards. You can have all of your emails written. You can have all those things built. And because you're buying it in November, you're going to get better pricing if you buy it in January. Number 7 is spinning plates. 13 success strategies for 2013. Spinning plates, right? We talked about that in ProStart. That was our main focus in ProStart. You got to pick spinning plates, right? And the analogy of spinning a plate, once I put the first one on there, the first one's probably going to be for everybody's sphere of influence, right? Because those people already know, like us, and trust us. Once I go over here to start putting on my other plate, I'm going to get this one going, but what do I have to do to my sphere of influence? I better go back and make sure I touch it every day. Now I have time to put my FSBO plate going. Keep going back to that sphere of influence plate and get my FSBO plate going, get my Expire plate going. Now I'm ready to start my video plate. Right? Greg's building his videos. But his videos isn't his biggest plate. His videos is just something that's going to add to this. So we've got to continually spin our plates, and we've got to continually go back and make sure that we are in our schedule. What am I doing to be successful? Those of you doing FSBOs and Expires, awesome. You don't have to do them every day, though. You can if you're doing them every day and they're working great. But if Sean says every Tuesday after the sales meeting, my goal is to go out and find 5 for sale by owners. I don't care if I have to drive around until dark, or if I'm going to go online on Craigslist or on some site and find them. But every day, 5 new addresses. And then every Wednesday, he does his FSBO research. He comes in the office and he pulls up the auditor's website, looks in the old MLS reports and sees about the property, right? Think about what's in your schedule. And then if he did that, so he does his research, and then on Thursdays, he does his physical follow-up, where he talks to the 5 new ones with his introductory visit. He knocks on the door. The 5 from last week, he sends a second letter saying, sorry, I haven't been able to get in touch with you yet. He goes back and does some research on the people that he talked to the week before. If he does that every single day, would he be successful? You bet he would, right? Number 8, do you know me? Probably the forgotten part of the business plan is what's your personal marketing going to be for 2013 or insert whatever year, right? Because a lot of managers, they're focused on what's the numbers. What's your transaction numbers? Are you focused on dollar amount or are you focused on transaction numbers? What is your business marketing strategy going to be? And I'm talking about social marketing. I'm talking about print marketing. Right? I'm talking about direct mail, I'm talking all those, what's your brand going to be in 2013? Right? What are you building to get that exposure needed? What are you going to do to create buzz? Right? Greg's doing a great job with his videos and his high five agent. What is your business strategy, marketing-wise, going to be? And let's be honest, for the people who have been in it a couple years, what has it been? And has it gotten you what you thought it was going to get you? Is it time to cut the cord and stop spending money on things that don't work? Or is something you've been doing for 3 years just now going to start sprouting to the ground and start having results? Right? So what are you going to do to create buzz socially and print? And let me ask you another question. How many of you guys would raise your hands and confidently say to me, you have a dollar amount written down as part of your marketing budget for 2013? You have a dollar amount you're going to spend. The next thing is, number 9, creating that perception of value. This is actually our second responsibility to our sellers, isn't it? First is to inform you on the market and how we approach it. Then we're going to help you create a perception of value for your property. We need to drive the energy and attention, the traffic to your home to get people to do it. So what are you going to do in 2013 to harness and or leverage the marketing that we have in place as a brand, as a company, as an industry? What are you going to be doing? Do you guys feel comfortable right now that you are an expert in understanding how Zillow works, or Trulia, or Realtor.com? What about the MLS? Are you maximizing with multiple photos? Are your photos grainy, taken from a moving car as you roll past, or are they quality photos? Right? Are you paying someone to do your photos? I'm not saying you have to. I'm just saying, what are you doing property marketing-wise? Because once you understand it, is it easier for you to sit with your sellers and say, this is what we do to expose your house to the largest number of people, to create a perception of value, right? Because the dialogues that you've learned say that we're going to focus on one key point. That's how we can net you the most money for the sale of your property. One of the ways we do that is by exposing it to the largest market possible. The only way we can do that is if the market has a perception of value of the property. Because we know your first showing doesn't happen in person anymore, does it? Where does it happen? Online. And so as part of your plan, not just the marketing, what it is and what it does, but how am I going to implement it? Because wouldn't it be great if every one of our listings had a line to get in? Would you have more success? Would you get to your mountain home quicker? Yeah. But if you don't understand what I'm doing to create a perception of value, pricing-wise and marketing-wise, then I'm probably not going to have a line. What about your... This kind of blends in with the last one, but what about your blogging strategy, your social marketing strategy? When you get a line of people going to your site and engaging with you, right? Number 10, the mental rolodex. And this is where, if you guys came in today, I can tell you why there's not more people here today. Because someone out there thought they were going to get put on the spot and have to do a listing presentation dialogue or say one of the scripts, right? But how many of you guys feel comfortable, and trust me, you guys have said it in your answers, but you feel comfortable now with some of the dialogues that you have internally. Now, if we brought you up one at a time, Steve and I, when we put you on that video camera and said, do the dialogue, I don't think anyone would say it the exact same way. I think you'd all say it Kelly Ludwig's way, and Kim's way, and Michelle's way. You'd all say it a little bit differently, but you would feel confident in what I'm supposed to say. But how often am I going back to that mental Rolodex, right? And I talked to you guys in that class about, I have a mental Rolodex, and Steve and Dave, our Rolodex is chock full with years of dialogues for every situation, right? So when a customer, client, or student says to me, hey Sean, here's my question, my Rolodex starts spinning. And as Sarah's asking the question, my Rolodex says there's 3 possible answers. Now we're down to 2 possible answers. And as soon as she says, question mark, the dialogue comes out and I say it because I have got the experience to find that dialogue in my Rolodex. But someone like Susan or Mike or Kara who just went through ProStar, just got licensed, unfortunately your Rolodex has like 9 cards in it, right? And it goes like this. So when do you think about what to say? Like next Saturday, if you cut the grass, I'm like, this is what I should have said to that guy. Right? Just, where were you like last week, right? And then over time, you start adding more dialogues in there, and you start saying, for this scenario, there's 3 possible answers. For this scenario, there's 5 possible answers, right? I mean, guys, if you are going to a listing presentation, and all of a sudden, right as you bring the doorbell, you're like, oh crap, what do I say if they say they don't want to pay me my full fee? Too late. That dialogue's not going to come out. You better have 6 or 7, because then when you get down to it, or just give a kick-ass listing presentation, and guess what they don't ask you to do? Cut your fee, right? So once again, think about that mental Rolodex of what you're going to say so that when you get on stage, so when you're like that agent Jan at the concession stand, and someone called her, she knew what to say. At open houses, on floor duty, picking up your kids after school, walking out of church, on social networking. What do I say if someone asks me, right? And number 11, there's no I in team. There's no I in team. I'm looking around. Susan has a business partner. Kelly has her husband Dave. Margaret works with her husband Dan. Anyone else in the room here have it? Jackie works on a team. Mike and his wife Julie. But you guys realize everyone in this room here has a team, right? How are you working with your managers? How are you working with your OAs? Your front desk receptionists? How about your mortgage advisor, right? You should all have your Coldwell Banker Home Loans advisor, but you should also have a couple other lenders that you trust and feel comfortable with, right? How about your title reps, right? Who in here feels comfortable that you would recommend me the home inspector that you use? Raise your hands if you feel comfortable with your home inspector. Right, those of you who didn't raise your hands, start talking to people that raise their hands and say, why did you pick that person? Why? Tell me about your home inspector. Who is he? Why do you like him? And listen to what the answers are. Because if I trust Susan, I like Susan's personality. I like the way she raises her son. I like the relationship she has with her husband. We get along well. Then I'm going to probably trust her instinct, but I don't want to just trust her instinct. I want to say, why? Well, he shows up early for home inspections. He provides a great written report. He sends us a video report. He does this. Now I have much more reason to say, I want that person on my team, right? Think about this, guys, in this business. When you are the front person in the bobsled, you have other people in the bobsled with you. But the front guy's the one that decides to steer where it goes, but you don't have people behind you leaning and turning and putting their weight behind you. It could get pretty ugly, right? So even though it's you, Inc., you make the business decision to hire the people you want and bring the people into your lives that you need as your support units to get where you want to be in 2013. Number 12, filling your toolbox, right? Part of your business plan may or may not be, but do you have the tools you need to be successful? Now, clearly, being part of Coldwell Banker King Thompson, you have tools such as your buyer pack, your seller packs, right? Zip forms, some of the technology tools that you have. If you don't know how to use those, sit down with your e-marketing coordinator, your manager, or another agent and say, how are you using this? It's great if Christy knows how to use it in theory, but in practice, she might want to talk to Bob Price or Doug Nail and say, now, how do you use this in a listing presentation? How do you talk about Homebase in Touch? I noticed, Susan, that you use Homebase for your clients. What questions are they asking you? Because I need to understand it better, right? Those tools, but how many of you guys for your business plan for 2013 want to make some changes with some of your tools? You want to get a new phone, a new iPad, a new laptop, a new digital camera? How many people have an iPad right now that they use in their business? Raise your hands if you have an iPad. How many people have a plan, they think an iPad would help them be more of a mobile agent today? So you got to think about it. Okay, so when's that going to come in, Susan? Let me use you as an example. Susan maybe just can't go out and get an iPad today. Maybe she has to make that part of her business plan. When I close my 5th transaction of the 25 I'm going to get in 2013, I'm going to buy an iPad. She's got it planned out. She's specific, it's measurable, it's attainable, she knows the time frame, and she knows what the reward's going to be. It's a smart goal. The 5th closing, not the 4th. She doesn't go to Dave and say, Dave, I put something in the contract yesterday, so I'm going to go ahead and get my iPad now. No, your goal was, you're not rewarding yourself till you close that 5th deal. You do it now, then you've just blown your goal. You said it wasn't that important to me. I didn't need to start holding yourself accountable by sharing that with people. Same thing with all the tools you're using, right? Right? And flip video, I love it, and it's simple. But if I was going to start doing more professional videos for me, either as a speaker or a trainer or an agent, I'd probably invest in more things. And I have to make it part of my business plan. You think Cardinal Health isn't going to invest in some tools for their business? Procter & Gamble, Pepsi, Nike? You think they're not spending money to do things that are going to help them be more successful? Yeah. And finally, 13. Go back to the very first thing. It's not about the house, it's about the what? The clients. It all ends with it's about the clients. It's about delivering a memorable experience that makes people say, wow, that was incredible to work with Deborah. She did so much more than I expected, right? Because remember, truly remarkable service is great, it's a buzzword, and it's in part of our company's mission statement. But truly remarkable service is just a piece of the entire experience. If one part of the service goes wrong, the experience just got diminished. So what are you doing? What is Boyd Fackler going to do that says this is unique and different from all the other 5,000 members of the Board of Realtors? And it comes down to the funnel versus the megaphone. Right? We talked about that in every class, right? The funnel is the old-fashioned sales technique of put enough leads in your funnel that hopefully a few of them come out. Right? But think of all the people that had a bad experience then, that were shoved in the top and didn't have a good experience when they came out. And Seth Godin says we need to turn that funnel on its side and make it a megaphone. And put the right people into the end. So that when they come out the other side, they pick it up and say, hey everybody, I had an awesome experience working with Michelle Hogan. Hey everybody, if you use Susan Harriet, you're going to have a great experience in selling your home. Right? Put less people, but the right people in your funnel. And then when they come out, they turn it into a megaphone and they tell other people about your experience. So now all of you have built a team. Greg's 11 transactions this year are 11 people on his marketing team. Right? And they're going to start telling people about what a great experience is so that those 11 turn into 22 or 32 next year and grow, right? And then it's simple. You just lather, rinse, repeat. You do it again. You just say, if I just keep doing that, except do more, and I realize it's not about the houses, if I just build relationships, solve problems, have fun, pretty good way to go.